Alrighty, y'all, we're going to jump right into doing these two t-shirt projects here. And I just got a couple of men's t-shirts that were about a size too big for Twisty, so that when I did the transformation they'd fit a little looser, a little better. So for the first one, what I did was I had her try it on and tell me how high up she wanted the t-shirt to go. I measured about 1 inch below that, and then I cut about 1 inch strips all around the t-shirt. And what you'll see that I'll do here once I have these strips cut is I'm going to crisscross every other one and tie those in a knot together, so that it kind of made a lattice design, or I guess that's what you call that. But it just, there was no rhyme or reason to it. I just was trying something out, and she liked the way it turned out. So just have to keep in mind something that I didn't take into account is that it starts to draw up and tighten up a little bit. You just need to give it a little pull, a little tug, and maybe tie it a little bit looser when you're doing this process, because the t-shirt is going to draw in a little bit tying all of these together like that. Alright, for that V-neck, I just marked it with a piece of chalk, and I made sure to think smaller when I was doing this, because t-shirts are kind of stretchy, and I knew that it might stretch out and maybe too big if I tried to do the exact V shape that I wanted. So I made it a little bit smaller because I felt like it would stretch out a little bit, and it actually did work out in the end. Alright, and for the sleeves, all I did was cut the stitched band off. I just cut that hem off. I wanted to give it keep that ragtag look to it, and also to give it a little stretch to make it a little more girly, a little more feminine. I cut those hems off. And I'm using this heat transfer vinyl that I got on Amazon. You can find links to all of the products that I'm using in the description box below. And if you'll notice, I started with a white piece of vinyl. And what happened was I didn't do what I was supposed to do in the design process, and it didn't cut right. So I ended up using silver instead, which Twisty actually ended up liking better than the white. So it all worked out in the end. And you just want to be sure that you are doing a mirrored image. And in the Silhouette Cameo 3 design, once you get to that point where you hit send, it's going to ask you all the time when you do heat transfer, as long as you've chosen heat transfer in the type of material, it'll ask you if you want to mirror it or send it as is. And if you're doing any kind of lettering, you need to mirror it if you haven't done that before you go to the send process. Alright, so I am just going to eyeball where I want my design to go, and I wanted it right up under that V there, so the V-neck. And I put my iron on almost the hottest setting, but not quite the hottest setting. It just was a trial and error thing for me, and that seemed to be the sweet spot, was just a couple of notches before the hottest setting. And you want to just press until it's stuck, and then let it cool down. I didn't let it get all the way cold. I let it cool almost all the way down, and then I started to peel. And you know, if it doesn't work out, then you just keep ironing and letting it cool down till it does. So there is the end result. Look at my cute little girl. She's adorable. So for the next one, kind of the same thing. I just went with a different design for the bottom and the sleeves. So I'm cutting the V-neck out here. And then for the sleeves, what I did was I measured about 1.5 inches from that shoulder seam and made marks. And then I marked down about 4 inches, and I'm going to cut to that 4-inch mark, and then I'm going to split those and just tie them in knots just to make them look all pretty and fancy. And at first I was just going to do the middle there, but you can see I did end up cutting that hemmed band off and making a knot in that one as well. So it turned out really pretty. Twisty likes the way it looks, and I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing I would say is if you're going to do it the way I did here, go ahead and kind of cut that shoulder seam there. Just cut that stitch out and maybe cut it at a little bit of an angle. It'll make it look a little more girly that way. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here with the other sleeve. And there you can see the finished product. It's just a nice little feminine looking sleeve for that t-shirt. Now for the bottom hem, I just decided to measure up 4 inches and mark that off, and then I cut in about 1-inch strips, and I'm just going to knot the end of these, not doing anything really fancy, just going to tie a knot in the end of them. And I didn't even cut that bottom hem off, but if you wanted to do that, you could. You can see I grew an extra pair of hands there to help me out. This is a tedious process, but it is definitely a lot of fun. Transforming t-shirts is something I've always done. We used to hand paint with acrylic paints. I would paint things for my oldest daughter on her t-shirts to wear to school. And then when I learned screen printing, I had my own little screen printing kit at home, and I would screen print things for the kids. So this is a really fun project. It could even be used for like a Halloween costume or, Halloween t-shirt. So like I said earlier in the video, if you're doing lettering and you're using the Silhouette Cameo 3, you are going to need to make sure that you mirror that design before you cut it, so that the lettering won't be backwards whenever you put it on the t-shirt. There's a process that you can do while you're designing it, but I always use, when I hit send and I choose the HTV, it asks me if I want to mirror it, and I just say yes, mirror the design, and then that way it comes out right. But it's just easier for me that way than the process of doing it when you're in the design suite. So just however you want to do it, you can do it that way. And you can find a link to all of the products that I have used in this video in the description box below. So that's it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And be sure to tune in for more great DIY videos, sewing, crafting, all kinds of fun stuff. I hope y'all enjoyed this. There's my little cutie. Look at her. She looks awesome in her t-shirt, doesn't she? Peace, y'all. Bye-bye.